Hi guys. Wow, it's been pretty hot here where I'm at. I built my pet rabbit a small air-conditioned room, which is essentially a box with frozen water bottles up at the top. And she loves it. And I'm eyeing her all jealous while I suffer through this heat. Anyway, how's it like over there where you're at? Tell me in the comment sections below. Today, I thought I'd talk to you guys about intuition. Most people would agree with me when I say that intuition is natural, right? I think almost everyone would agree to this. But, it got me thinking. If intuition is so natural, why is it that we don't see too many people with developed intuition? I mean, it's supposed to be natural. It's supposed to be everywhere. Right? Didn't you think about that? I mean, is it only me? I don't know. There's something fishy about that, don't you think? Anyways, this makes me think that our intuition is getting suppressed on a massive scale. Speaking of getting our intuition suppressed, let me start off the topic with my story. I'm naturally intuitive, more intuitive than analytical. I might go as far as to say that I might be a little bit psychic. Not like fully psychic in that I can see the future or whatever, but I think I'm just a little bit, like a wee little bit psychic, Like, for instance, I have premonitions through dreams. I have intuitive visions and knowings, and I'm somewhat telepathic, especially with animals and that sort of things. Oh, guys, let me tell you a crazy story that happened to me. For several years before I moved up to Northern California, I kept dreaming of the same neighborhood over and over, like night after night. It was to a point where I became really familiar with the landscape, the road, the houses, the Sierra, the water reservoir, and all that. But I didn't think it really existed except in my dreams. And this continued on for about, I don't know, like several years, about 2-3 years, I think. When I finally moved to Northern California, guess where I moved to? Yup. I moved to a neighborhood that was just like the one I saw in my dreams. I mean, exactly like that. The landscape, the terrain, the houses, the trail, even the water reservoir, everything I saw in my dreams, it was exactly like it. I mean, when I realized that, I was completely shocked. I was blown away. Anyway, I had those what's the word? Premonitional? No. Premonitory. Premonitory. Yeah. I had those premonitory lucid dreams since I was little, like since I was a kid. So it was very natural to me. So, it didn't freak me out or anything. But growing up, not too many people liked it when I talked about things like this. Even my parents, as loving as they are. Now that I think about it, I think it might have scared them a little because they were religious. So my intuitive visions or dreams or whatever you call it was dismissed as my overactive imagination. And, it was discouraged. And so my intuitive abilities were suppressed. It was only until my spiritual awakening intensified that it started to rise back up again. I bet some of you might have a similar story where you remember being very intuitive when you were younger, but then it was snuffed out as you got older because people around you didn't understand it. Let me know in the comment section below if that happened to you. I think it happens more often than not, but let me know. I'm curious. Anyway, I say all this to say that our intuition is something innate and natural to us, to all of us. I don't think it's something that certain people have and certain people don't have. I think it's natural. I think we're all born with intuitive abilities. Now, why I say that is because it's apparent if you look at the natural world. The natural world is run mostly by instinct and intuition. And there are way more things that cannot be verbalized than there are things that can. We communicate with each other mostly with nonverbal cues, with our energy, with our emotions, and our body language. And, so do animals. Not logic or reasoning, our energy and emotions. Even our cells don't communicate with each other verbally or with any kind of reasoning. They run on instinct and intuition. So it's actually unnatural for us to be disconnected from our own intuitive abilities. Now, everyone gets intuitive hits all the time because it's natural to do so. But the trouble is, we don't believe it when they come. We don't believe our own intuitions. But why? Why is that? I mean, there must be a reason why we don't trust our own intuition. And, at a massive scale at that. It's because we're trained to ignore our own voices. From a very young age, we're essentially trained to give authority to someone else. Think about it. As kids, adults just assume you don't know better, that they know what's best for you. A lot of us had to eat even though we're not hungry, instead of being taught to listen to our own hunger cues and eating only when our body needs feeding. Another example. Instead of naturally letting sleep take over, we had to go to bed even though we weren't tired. It was just time for bed, and so off we had to go. We were forced to go to bed and lay there awake, feeling bored until, eventually we got tired. Now that I think about it, maybe that's why so many people have trouble sleeping as adults. When we enter school, we are trained to look toward teachers to tell us what to do, what to learn, and how to learn it, instead of letting our natural curiosity drive our learning. We have to ask permission for everything, even going to the restroom, when we can play, when we can eat, and, etc. Now, I'm not saying that that is right or wrong, but my point is, from a very young age, we're used to giving up our own sovereignty to others, to people who supposedly know better, instead of listening to ourselves and the urgings and the instincts that arise from within us. This continues on to adulthood. Our modern system is set up in a way where, even in our adulthood, we're constantly required to give up our own authorities over our own bodies, our own time, and to suppress our own instincts. For example, let's take a look at our workplace. We're required to look to our bosses for everything. They tell us whether our work is valuable or not, whether we're doing it right or wrong. Our bosses tell us when and for how long we can take a break or take a vacation. Think about what that does to our mindset. We don't even have the authority to let our body and mind rest when it needs to. We have to seek validation from an authoritative figure, someone who can override our own instincts. Another example. We look to the doctors to tell us about our own bodies and think that they know better than us, the people who actually live in it. Of course, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with going to the doctors. Going to doctors is very important and very necessary to diagnose and treat a problem. But I feel like in our modern culture, I think that we tend to give too much authority, too much power to what the doctors say about our own bodies, instead of us feeling our bodies from within first and then collaborating with the doctors to treat a problem. In civilizations that are more spiritually connected, people are trained to feel their bodies from the inside and to cater to its needs daily and to surrender to the body's own natural course rather than rely solely on an outside source to tell them what to do with their own bodies. There are countless of examples where we're constantly required to stifle our own internal voice, our intuition, while giving power to an outside source. And this is being done on a massive scale on a daily basis. This is why it's rare to see people with developed intuition these days. In conclusion, it's deeply embedded in our culture to give up our own sovereignty to an authoritative figure. And constantly looking outside of ourselves to tell us what to do ultimately keeps our own intuitive senses dull and desensitized. Now, to develop your intuition, it requires you to go against the grain and break away from this learning, this subconscious acceptance. It requires that you become your own authority, get back to your own sovereignty, and start valuing what comes through you, what is expressed through you over other people's voices. And to be fair, that's not an easy feat. But in my next video, I'll be talking about how to develop your intuition and how I did it. As always, thanks for watching and thanks for hanging out with me. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you back here on my next video. Regards, Ray.